If you have a desire to become a better version of your current self, then this podcast is for you. I share with you helpful thoughts, tips, and stories surrounding fitness and self-improvement which you can apply to your life today. So for those of you that want to take control of your life, to learn, to grow, to become that which you desire most, I am your host, Connor Malone, and this is the pursuit of constant improvement. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can reinvent yourself and become the type of person that you want to be in the next 66 days. Now, cutting straight to the chase, you might be wondering, why did I mention 66 days? Very specific. And I'm going to explain to that to you first of all, because it's very important that we get this out of the way, because when we talk about kind of reinventing ourselves and becoming a different type of person, the 66 days mark is a very important milestone in that. Because with reinventing ourselves, becoming a different type of person, what that means is we need to change our behaviours. And behaviour change takes time. And specifically, it takes 66 days. Now, the reason we know that it takes roughly 66 days to transform behaviours, create new habits, and really solidify like a routine almost, which again is going to dictate how you can actually transform yourself and reinvent yourself. The reason we know that is because there was a study done by somebody called Philippa Lally. Okay, so very simply, you don't need to know her name. She's a health psychologist at the University College in London. Now, what they'd done was they examined 96 people. It was over a 12-week period. And what they'd done over that 12-week period is they got everybody to try and implement one habit they could do every single day. So they ranged in difficulty. It could be going out a run. It could be doing some form of exercise. It could be sticking to a diet. There was loads of different habits, some very easy, some very difficult. But what they did was they found how long it took for somebody to stick at that habit for it to become ingrained in their behavior. So it became automatic. Because that is what we want with habits. When it comes to reinventing ourselves, we want to change our behaviors, our habits. So the things that we do automatically align with the type of person we want to be. Because the reason you probably clicked on this episode is because you're maybe not 100% happy with who you are or what you're doing right now, and you could want to change that and reinvent that, whether it's even in just a small way or it's a huge reinvention of yourself. Now, the 66-day mark is what they found was the time when a new behavior became automatic. It was 66 days. Now, this does not mean that for every single one of us, it takes exactly 66 days, but from a relatively large group of people, this was their average, the 66-day mark. If you follow Gymshark, you might see at the start of the year, they do something called Gymshark 66, because they've obviously looked into this study, and it's quite a renowned study, and how it can take 66 days to change a behavior, which again is important in reinventing ourselves. Now, the reason I wanted to do this episode was because at some point in my life, I wasn't happy with kind of who I was, the type of person I was becoming, and I wanted to reinvent myself. I wanted to become somebody who was more disciplined. I wanted to become a stronger person. I wanted to be in business. I wanted lots of different things, but the person I was at the time wasn't that. So I had to reinvent myself. That is the word that a lot of people use. So this could be very simple. If you're unhappy with the way you look, if you're unhappy with the way you feel, you generally want to reinvent yourself. And I'm going to share with you a 6-step process that you can go through to do exactly that. Because what we're going to do with this whole reinvention is essentially become the best version of yourself, the person that you want to become. That's the whole point in the pursuit of constant improvement, is to become the type of person that you want to be. Now, there's a quote that I really like from this, and it says, "Don't ever feel like your best days are behind you. Reinvention is the purest form of hope. Make today your best yet." That's by a guy called Phil Wool. I've, to be honest, absolutely no idea who Phil is, but it's a great fucking quote. It's really good. Because what he's saying there is, don't ever feel like your best days are behind you. People feel like you don't need to be in your 50s, 60s, 70s to think this. People think when they're starting to settle down, whatever age that may be, oh, my best days are behind me. I can't really change anything. It was too late. It's utter rubbish. It is never too late to reinvent yourself. So whatever stage you're at in your life, you can reinvent yourself. You can change the type of person you are, because it happens all the time. Think of any of like your favorite movies almost. A lot of the times somebody starts in like the bottom of the pit. There's, I don't know whether they're an addict or something generally isn't going right in their life, and they transform themselves, they reinvent themselves. It happens all the time. We aspire to be like those people. The people we look up to most are those who tend to transform themselves. They tend to reinvent themselves. So to get straight on to step number 1 and how you can do exactly that, what we're going to do is create a vision and ideal self of yourself. That rhymed. So again, basically creating a vision of where you want to end up. What do you want to become? Because it's easy to say, right, I want to change. I want to reinvent myself. Why? What do you want to become? What type of person do you want to become? Because what this is going to do is shape our identity. Now, by identity, what I mean is if you know somebody, you can tell roughly what type of person they are, what they represent, like what they embody by their traits, their actions, all of these things. We are going to pick out traits, habits, kind of lifestyle choices that we want in our life, and then we're going to create a routine that embodies that. So it starts with, of course, creating that vision. Because once you have a vision for yourself, you can make better decisions. Because let's say you don't know where you're going in life. You don't know what you want to achieve, essentially. You don't know where you want to end up. Your decisions are just being made at random based on how you feel at the time. Whereas if you have a vision like, right, I want to lose a lot of weight and I want to become this type of person that does X, Y, and Z, that's much easier to make your decisions. So if somebody asks you to go out, well, probably not right now because I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. Or maybe somebody, I don't know, asks you to, do you do this? Do you do that? Whatever. You'll be able to give an answer based on your vision. So again, it just helps you become better at making decisions, because if we're better at making decisions, we get better outcomes in life. Because that is the difference between somebody that succeeds and somebody that doesn't, is their decisions. Do they make good decisions or do they make bad? And by creating a vision for yourself, you will make better decisions. Now, from creating a vision of yourself, what we're really looking at here is create priorities. Like, what do you want? Like, so people always say to me, like, oh, I want to lose weight. Well, if I look at your life right now, these type of people, I look at their calendars, I look at their diaries, they don't reflect that. They're out at the weekend, they're getting takeaways, they're not exercising, they're not really doing much with their nutrition. They'll maybe try for a day or two, but no longer than that. They're not embodying the type of person they want to be because they don't have a clear vision. So they can't base their decisions and their actions off of that. So that's why it's so important to have that first and foremost. So you create that idea of the type of person you want to become, helps you make better decisions, and you can base your actions, your habits off of that from there. Because what I wanted to do really was, when I looked at myself and I was like, right, I want to be more disciplined. This was part of my vision, right? A more disciplined person. What would a more disciplined person do? Well, they would probably get up earlier in the morning. So I made sure that was part of my routines. If I had the decision whether to stay up late at night and, I don't know, play Xbox, or I could not do that and go to bed and get up early in the morning, that decision was made clear because of my vision. Well, what would a disciplined person do? They would go to bed, they would get up early, and they would crush their day. They wouldn't stay up because they want to play Xbox or they want to do this at the time. It's delayed gratification. That's what we call that. So you're not giving into these impulses. You're actually doing what you need to do because of that vision. So from this one, obviously, very simply, to finish this off, once you've created your vision, that will help you make better decisions from there. It will also help you create different actions, different habits in your life. So if you're unsure of what to do in your life, think of where you want to be, reverse engineer from there, and that will help you with that. Now, this should kind of lead us nicely onto point number 2, because point number 2 is creating a routine to back up that vision. Now, we've already spoke about this a little bit, these actions. That's what a routine is, a sequence of actions. You need to be carrying out set actions in your week, in your days, in your months to align with this vision of yourself. Because again, you want to be disciplined, but you're staying up late every night. Doesn't really align with where you want to be. Doesn't align with that vision. So that's maybe not the right thing to do in that situation. So you have a choice to make when you're creating your routine. Because I talk about routine all the time. And the reason I do is because that's what my business is built around, routine. Because I talked about how your decisions, your actions will dictate where you end up in life. Your routine is just a group of them, a group of actions, a group of decisions that you're making. That is what your routine is. And if you want to end up in a certain position, you need to make good decisions and take good actions towards that. So that's what we're going to do with a routine from there. Because we all have the same goals, as I've said this before. We all want the same outcomes in life. Everybody wants to be disciplined. Everybody wants to achieve X, Y, and Z. But it's the actions that will dictate whether we get there or not. That's the big difference. Now, when you're looking at kind of how to create your routine, what to involve in your routine, just think back, what would your ideal self do? What would this vision for your future, how would you get there? Because everything we're doing here is reverse engineering. We're thinking of the vision, where you want to end up, and then we're thinking, right, what would that person have done to get there? That's how we do that. So again, if you want to transform your physique, you want to lose body fat and build muscle, what would the person who's built a physique, they've lost body fat and they've built muscle, what would they do? They probably have a routine that encompasses exercising, nutrition, good quality sleep, all of these things. So then you can think, right, well, that's what I'll put into my routine. Because people say it's so important to look at other people for inspiration, which I totally agree with. It is. Like, we can get a lot of inspiration from others that have done what we want to do. But if you don't have anybody like that, just envision it yourself. Envision the type of person you want to be, realize what it takes to get there, and then build a routine off of that. Now, once you've done that, we move to step number 3. Step number 3 is going into ghost mode. Some people call it monk mode. You can call it whatever the fuck you like, to be honest. It is just getting shit done and limiting distractions. That is all it is. Call it whatever fancy thing you want to call it. Our main aim here is to limit distractions. So whatever bad habits you have, whatever things hold you back from becoming the type of person you want to become, we'd remove them. So when people talk about going into monk mode, obviously you think of a monk, you think they're very disciplined, they have a set routine, they are not distracted by external things, they are focused on one thing, which is themselves really and their own improvement, and they are, whatever it happens to be, their cause, if you like, their mission, their purpose, that's what they're focused on every single day. They don't sit on TikTok for hours every day. Neither should you. If that is one of your distractions, we get that out of our life. So when going into this kind of monk mode, or going into this ghost mode, as I like to call it, limit distractions, remove yourself from social media. I can almost guarantee that every single person, you right now that are listening to this episode, you spend too much time on social media. I do. And you likely will too. One of the things I'd done, this was probably about 1.5 years ago now, when I was like with adenosine, things were really starting to pick up with my personal training business. I was starting to scale up a little bit. I needed more time. And the easy way to make more time is to remove distractions. So like Snapchat, Facebook were two things I was spending a lot of time on. Now I needed Instagram for business, but I didn't need my personal account. So I logged out of that. I deleted Snapchat. I deleted Facebook. I kept my business account on, but I just didn't go on my normal one. And that saved me so much time. Try it if you spend time on TikTok. Delete the app. Literally, sometimes I say it's not good to go in like full pelt for a lot of habits. With this one, it is. Delete the app. You do not need it in your life. And that will free up so much time if you manage to remove that distraction. So that is a very important part of this ghost mode. So whatever holds you back in life, these distractions, we're looking to remove them. If it's a friend group that don't support your growth and improvement, they ask you to go out all the time, and you've said to them, listen, I can't for I don't know, however many weeks, however many months, but they keep asking, keep doing this. Listen, you just have to disconnect from that. That's why I put such a huge focus on the social media, because it's pulling you into that world of comparison to other people, seeing what other people are doing and wanting to do that. You get that shiny object syndrome. You see everything else that's great, and you want to do that yourself, whereas we need to remove that. A Latin phrase I like, which really well kind of explains ghost mode, is acta non verba. It's actions, not words. Because with going into ghost mode, removing these distractions, we put in action. We do not talk about what we want to do. You get nowhere in life by talking about your goals and talking about your aspirations and I want to do this, I'm going to do this, or whatever. You get places in life by actually doing it. Actions, not words. If you take one thing from this episode today, take that. Less talk, more action. Acta non verba, as the Latin phrase would go. Now on to step number 4, we have getting out of your comfort zone. To reinvent yourself, obviously you want to go from being the person that you are now to being a different type of person. In order to do that, you have to get out of your comfort zone because you're not happy with where you are right now. And the reason is because of your actions and your habits and your behaviors, all of these things. And the reason that those keep coming into your life is because you're comfortable. You're never changing anything. So you need to get uncomfortable. That is where anything good in life happens. Like, for example, when I reinvented myself, I've started businesses. I've started my personal training business, my online coaching business, my clothing brand. This podcast, for example, these were not comfortable things. I didn't feel good doing it. I didn't want to get in front of a camera and talk to you. No offense. It wasn't comfortable for me. But I'd done it anyway. And all of the good in my life has come from doing things like that. from getting uncomfortable. So again, keep doing what you're doing right now. You're going to end up exactly where you don't want to be, or you can get uncomfortable and go places you actually want to be. Because as I said, that's where all good things happen in life, growth and improvement. You don't need to take my word for it, take any athlete's word for it, take any movie stars, anybody you look up to, take their word for it. They got uncomfortable. That is how they grew, that is how they improved, and that is what you need to do too. You're no different. One way I started to do this was simply by going to events. Now you might be thinking, oh, what events am I meant to go to, whatever. I had the same thought. I didn't know what to do. I searched these things up online. I found a networking event in Glasgow. I've been to a good few networking events. This very first one I went to, I was shitting myself. Like, I was so nervous. I didn't want to be there. I felt like I didn't really belong there because I thought people would be miles ahead of me. But that was the exact experience I needed, to feel like I didn't belong there, to feel uncomfortable, to go to that and realize, wow, that actually wasn't that bad. And then I got more confident at doing things. So what I started when I was about 17, I started going to fitness expos by myself. One of my friends didn't want to go. I was like, oh, I'll just leave it. And I thought, no, I will go myself. So I went to that. I started going to networking events. That grew my confidence. It got me out of my comfort zone. And now I can do things like that without even thinking about it. So if you're somebody that is scared of doing these things, you've never put yourself in that situation, it's exactly what you need to do. It's super simple advice, but it really does pay off big time in this one. If you don't know what to do, just search it up online. Very simply, start going places yourself. Do things yourself. It's uncomfortable. Most people don't like doing it. Most people need the validation of others to do things. If you want to get somewhere in life, you don't need that. You can go to things yourself. You can search things up. Basically do the things that you need to do and do it by yourself. That is when we get uncomfortable. That is when we grow. That is when we improve. So that's a really big one in terms of reinventing yourself. Because what I found was when I was in that stage, everything was unfamiliar, and it will be for you too. But that is why it's uncomfortable, because it is unfamiliar. The more you do something, the more familiar it becomes, the more comfortable we become with it. So you can apply that to anything in your life. What makes you uncomfortable? Probably something that isn't very familiar to you. Now, moving on to step number 5, kind of basing off what we just spoke about there with the kind of me going to networking events and things like that. This partially kick-started this part for me, and it's finding inspiration in your environment. Now, automatically, people would maybe think of, like, I don't know, who you surround yourself and things, but there's literally your environment, where you are right now as an environment. Like, wherever you're listening to this, is it in the car? Are you watching this on YouTube? Are you in your room? Are you in the gym right now? The environment you're in, that will dictate how you feel right now, at least to some extent. You might not even notice it. But basically, the places we are, the type of people that we spend our time with, dictate how we feel. You might not notice at the time, but subconsciously that has a huge effect on you. So for example, like, you could have all the positive things in your life. You could be really, like, everything we spoke about. You could have obviously set up your routine. You could be living in alignment with this vision of yourself, this new reinvented vision you have. But if you've not gone into that kind of ghost mode and keep surrounding yourself with people that are negative in these environments, it will pull you back in. Even the most positive person can be drawn into negativity based on their environment. So when it comes back to our other step with ghost mode, that can be part of that as well. Remove yourself from those environments. Because what I didn't realize at the time when I was in environments, which I never really realized at the time were negative, I was thinking, oh, well, it doesn't really affect me. I'm stronger than that. It does. It affects how you act. Because if something affects how you feel, it affects how you act. So think of it that way. Do you feel good somewhere? Good. You'll probably act better off the back of that. If somewhere you go makes you feel bad, like the people you're around, you tend to won't want to act off of that. You won't find any inspiration in that. So again, I done this by surrounding myself with those types of people that I found inspiring. I wanted to achieve something that they've already achieved. But I also done this with my room. I done it with my office. Like, I tidied them up. I put things on the walls. It sounds of weird, like, oh, well, if, like, most people think, oh, something on the wall isn't going to impact you. But again, all these things are subconscious to us. We might not necessarily realize them at the time, but these will impact our mood, which again impacts how we act. So make sure the environments you're in are positive ones and they're not filled with negativity from there. Another way I like to do that is not consuming news. If you don't know by now, news is negative, because we have a negative bias as humans. We like to consume negativity. Like, again, I've spoke about this before. Think at any time somebody shared negative news with you. Might not be good, but you want to tell somebody else. It's a really strange thing, but it's part of our kind of human behavior as such, as this negative bias, our bias towards negative news. And that is why the news gets so many views and is so popular and so many people talk about it. But what is a good idea for you is to remove that. Because as I said, that will impact how you feel. If it impacts how you feel, it will impact how you act. So by removing news and all these negative things, you can act better off of that. So that is one way you can do that. Now on to the last part, the last step, which is number 6, is embark on a physical challenge. The reason I would embark on a physical challenge is because it does absolutely everything we spoke about. So for example, like if you've created your vision, you've created your routine, you've went into this kind of monk mode, if you like, as you went into that ghost mode, this thing here, you're limiting distractions, you're getting out of your comfort zone. Doing something physically challenged does exactly all of them. It limits distraction, gets us out of our comfort zone, aligns with the type of person we want to become, makes us uncomfortable. That is one of the best ways you can possibly do that. One of the things I wanted with my vision was, as I've said, is to become more disciplined. One of the best ways to do that is physically, through physical challenge. So you yourself could aim to run, I don't know, or exercise X amount of times per week. You could aim to do a 10K over these next 66 days. You could aim to do something, because physical challenge makes us uncomfortable. And as I said before, by being uncomfortable, we tend to grow, we tend to improve. So that's one of the best ways that you can do that. I'd done it through bringing in high performance days, the 4x4x48 challenge, which is a game where I ran 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. It was something that made me obviously uncomfortable. It limited distractions, done all the things that we spoke about today. And there's a quote by Seneca, who was a philosopher. And what he said was, the body should be treated rigorously, that it may not be disobedient to the mind. And what he means there is, by treating our body difficultly, or by doing difficult things, and treating it rigorously, we become harder in our mind. Goggins talks about it. We armor the mind, we callous the mind. Because when we do uncomfortable things, we become stronger off the back of it, and it allows you to push through life and reinvent yourself in a way that you wouldn't be able to do before without that physical challenge. Now, from today's episode, obviously the takeaways are pretty clear in terms of the steps. I will repeat those steps for you. So first step is create a vision and identity for yourself. This is like your foundation, your plan. This will dictate all your actions, your behaviors over the next 66 days. Create a routine to back up your vision. So these are your steps to becoming the type of person you want to become over the next 66 days. So what we're looking for is, at the end of these 66 days, if you like, is for those to be automatic, these behaviors. Like, for example, you get up and you brush your teeth in the morning. That is automatic because you've done it so many times. By the end of the 66 days, your routine should be becoming automatic. The next one is go into ghost mode or monk mode. I've called it both of those, which is where you work hard without distractions. Basically, you limit distractions. You make your reinvention a priority. After that, we get out of our comfort zone, because as I said before, this is where all good things happen. This is where growth happens. This is where improvement happens, through being uncomfortable. We then find inspiration for our environment, because again, lasting change comes through inspiration. It comes through an environment, and you can do exactly that. And the last one was embark on a physical challenge, basically to prove who you are. You've set this kind of vision of yourself, who you want to become. Prove it to yourself. If you want to be disciplined, if you want to be someone that exercises, if you want to lose weight, all these things will require some form of physical challenge, some form of discomfort. Prove it to yourself that you can do that, and embark on that challenge. Now, to finish off, as ever, I have a quote. This one is quite a short one, by Jim Rohn. And what he said was, life gets better by change, not by chance. If you're going through life, you're unhappy with the type of person that you are right now, you're unhappy with your routine, you're unhappy with your physique, the way you look, the way you feel, that is not going to change by chance. Okay, it's going to change based on your decisions and your actions. So you need to change your life. You need to change your actions in order to do that. So don't leave it to chance. Make that change, and you can reinvent yourself over these next 66 days. As ever, I thank you for listening to this episode. I hope that you take something from this episode into your own reinvention. If you need help with that, everything we've spoke about before, this is exactly what I do with my online coaching. I help people like you transform their physique and create a routine that they can be proud of. So if you want somebody to support you, provide you with accountability, and structure that 6-step process for you, get in contact with me. All you need to do is drop me a DM with the word transform, and we can speak about kickstarting your own transformation, your own reinvention today. But as I said, I hope you take something from this episode. I hope you apply it to your life, and I hope you continue with your own pursuit of constant improvement. Thank you for listening.